Hi, I'm Terry Brock, and we're always looking for ways to find out how you succeed in life. And I love getting a chance to share with you some people that I know, some good buddies and friends of mine that are doing exceptionally well. And joining me right now from his home just outside Philadelphia is Duane Love. Duane, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Well, I have been wanting to talk with you for a while because you've been outstanding in what you've done, the way you've done it, and you and I have a special connection in that we both graduated from a tiny little high school in lower mid-Michigan, a little town called Napoleon, Michigan. And we've both gone kind of different ways doing our own thing, but you've been very successful. Tell us a little bit, kind of in a nutshell, in just a few seconds, what your career has been and where you are today.
Well, I started out, as I was mentioning before, with a company called Merry-Go-Round back in 1974, actually, in Jackson, Michigan, and worked there a short while and was transferred to Toledo, Ohio, and then ultimately to Springfield, Virginia as a manager. And that's when I was 18 years old. And then at 19, I actually began my career at the Prudential Insurance Company and worked there as an agent for about a year and 3 months and was promoted to a manager's position. And both as an agent, I was the youngest agent ever and the youngest manager ever in the history of the Prudential Insurance Company, and did that for about 4 years and then started my own agency, own independent insurance agency in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And built it up to the point where I felt I was better off, I guess you could say, reducing my exposure. I had a lot wrapped up in one business, so I sold it to a bank and remained on as a consultant until 2009. I sold it in 2001.
Very good. So since 2001, you've been on your own. What have you been doing since then?
Well, I was a consultant with the bank until 2009. So just basically the last couple years I've been completely, if you will, retired.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been pretty active. I'm involved in not only my children's life. I have 4 children and 7 grandkids. So it gives me the freedom to really participate in their lives, which is something that I guess I more or less gave up my younger years in terms of the time and energy that I put into my career so that I could be in a position to where I had the freedom to do as I pleased, really.
Yeah, I like that concept that you're able to now sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor because you worked hard and really you busted your tail to get out there and to work and make it happen. But what I'm really interested in, I know our viewers are going to be very interested in some of the principles that have guided your life and helped you to get going, because you started with nothing and you made it all on your own, working hard. What are some of the key principles that helped you to get ahead and to become so successful?
I think that for me, first I would have to say that knowing there wasn't any backstop or net. Many people, I think, they don't have to perform because they've got some fallback position, either parents or whatever, to give them that comfort that they need. Me, I didn't have that. I was literally on my own and have been since I was 16 years old. And, I was newly married at 19 when I started, at the Prudential Insurance Company. And what I found was that, being in sales, I could sell as much as I wanted. There was no quota, meaning I could earn as much as I was able to produce.
That's very nice. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I thought that was very intriguing. And, for me, the Prudential, I think I had mentioned it to you before, Terry, that I was the youngest member of the $1 Million Roundtable ever. I made that at 19 years old. And, what was ironic to me is I did what I needed to do to get the results that I needed to get. Mm-hmm. And it never ceased to amaze me how the Prudential Insurance Company dissected me. Like, in other words, why is this particular individual so much more successful than, thousands of others? And I think part of it is that I had a single-minded focus, that, I knew what I needed to do, and I kind of handled it this way. I thought in terms of what would I like out of my life, and painted that picture. Would I like a nice home, a nice car, and would I like to put money aside for the future and all those types of things, travel. And the answer to all those were yes. And so what I did is I just looked at it based upon how many sales or revenue, how much premium I'd have to sell to make the kind of money that I would like to make. And then I broke it down into very doable daily activities that would get me to that objective. So if
just kind of chunking it back, saying I need this much in the number, I'll chunk it back to how much today, and I'm breaking it into manageable chunks.
Exactly. And I think that I had the freedom to dream, and I dreamed big. And I said, well, now in order to do that, I have to do X amount of appointments a day to get the number of sales, because I knew what my closing ratios were, and so on and so forth. And I think the other thing is most importantly, is you need to make a habit of doing the things that failures don't like to do. Fact is that most people, I'll relate it to the business that I was in. They don't like to make the calls to get the appointments, to get the sales. And, to me, that was something I just made a habit of doing. I knew I had to do it to get to my objective. And, if you do it consistently, pretty soon it becomes habit.
Yep, I like that. Well, one of the habits that you told me about in a conversation we had a little while ago that impressed me was you say they would give you a certain quota that we often see in sales. They say you need to do X number, so much. But how did you handle it? If they told you needed to have, three sales in a week, what was your attitude toward that?
I don't know what it was, but for me, I always was very interested in exceeding any kind of objective or goal that, say, my manager or whatever would try to instill. If he wanted me to do, 5 sales a week or whatever, I would try to do 10. I like to blow them. I didn't like to just hit the objective, but I enjoyed doing something that would blow their mind, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Have them say, wow, I can't believe that you did that.
Yeah. I think that's admirable. And those are the kind of things and the traits that successful people have, that you say, instead of hitting this, just, okay, my quota is 5, but instead of hitting 5, you say, I'm going to shoot, let's go for 10 or 15 or even more. That's a wonderful attitude, very motivating.
Well, to add on to that, Terry, a little bit, is I found that by performing at these high levels, not only did I expect it of myself, but everybody else expected it of me as well. And, it's almost like being a 300-plus hitter in baseball. Everybody expects you to do it, and I had that expectation of myself. And I think the other thing is that by putting yourself in a position to where you have to do it, by telling others, I would always tell people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And really who I was telling was myself. I was convincing my subconscious that this is what I was going to do.
Yes.
I fully subscribe to and believe wholeheartely that you will do what your subconscious believes, period. Mm-hmm. And, the conscious mind is that filter, that, the self-talk, if you will.
Yep.
What you don't let in or what you do let in is so very important. And I think for the most part, the masses are less than attentive to that particular issue, that self-talk. Much of it is imposed upon us as we're growing up, and it becomes, what our consciousness is. And to rework that and to become conscious and put the proper thoughts in to manifest itself in the results that, you're talking about is so critical. And I just don't believe that as a whole, I can take people, which I did at the Prudential Insurance Company, interesting. I had Dartmouth graduates come in that were hired. I had PhDs that were hired on my staff. I was 20, and I had a gentleman who was a carpenter, actually. And to tell you how much I believe in it is that he was able, the individual didn't have nearly the intellect or the education or whatever, but had basic principles. He was silly enough to listen to me that he could do it. Mm-hmm. He performed at a level that's, and today he's very, very successful. in the insurance business, and there are many that are still in the business that I brought in, as a manager at Prudential.
Yeah, Duane, you hit the nail on the head. It's a matter of believing that, and when we see it, and then also getting the necessary tools. Because I also know that you didn't go in with just a lot of bravado, but you had a lot of training. You learned what was there. You knew specific questions, I'm sure, that your customers would ask on a regular basis, and you were able to do it. How did you get the education and the knowledge side of it to go with the motivation?
Well, at the Prudential, they were very insistent, if you will, upon the education aspects of our business. And for me, I couldn't sell something to another person if I didn't believe in it myself. Mm-hmm. So I was a big critic in terms of I would always ask all the hard questions. I think I was very inquisitive. I wanted to know everything I possibly could. I was literally a student, of that business. And so therefore, if I sat down with somebody, it wasn't me peddling a policy, really. It was me reviewing their financial desires.
Yeah, and you're more of a consultant helping them to solve a problem.
I think you could really refer to it more as counselor selling. Mm-hmm. It wasn't me coming in and hitting them over the head with a brick that you're going to buy this or buy that. It was me going in and listening to what their hopes, dreams, desires, and promises were. And, if they didn't need insurance, I was the first one to make them, feel comfortable that they didn't. If they did, I at least wanted to show them, what some of the solutions were. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that I believed greatly in the product certainly helped me excel.
Yeah, exactly. So you coupled that together. I think that's very important that you had the right mental attitude. You also had the right conditioning and education, and you put those together. Well, today, as we look out at the world, a lot of people are saying, gee, it's really tough out there, and some are unemployed, and it's the economy is tough for some people. What would you say to that person who's watching this that says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, it's kind of tough. You've been there, you've been in the tough times, but you've come out of it. What would you say to that person?
I would absolutely... I believe this with my whole heart. If you focus on the negatives, you're going to get the negative result. If you focus on the positives, you'll get a positive result. Let me give you an example. Right now, what's the unemployment rate?
9.2% as we're recording this.
That is absolutely correct. What's considered full employment?
Full employment back in the 60s, we considered 4%.
Okay, and maybe today it's more like 5 or something like that.
Somewhere in that range, yep.
Okay, so what you're saying to me is that all this conjecture, all this negativity, all this doubt, all this fear is the difference between 90.8% employment and 95% employment. Is that correct?
Something like that. It's a very smaller number when you look at it like you're describing. Yep.
Absolutely. So therefore, what I would say to anybody, I started my business in 1980. It was not good. The interest rate were 18%.
Yep.
Okay. The world was coming to an end. All right. So I don't have any time for it, period. I think it's silliness. I think that there's as much opportunity out there as people are willing to go out and put the energy in to get, period. I don't buy it, sitting around moping, saying the economy's not good and this and that. It's silliness. Mm-hmm. There's so much opportunity in this country that it's, that blows my mind.
Yep, there's a lot of good, and it's all how we focus and what we've done and what we do with it. And Duane Love, you have definitely done a lot of good. You've helped a number of different people. If someone wants to get in touch with you, they want to find out more about that, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can reach me at delove@duanelove.com.
delove@duanelove.com. Wonderful.
Yeah, DE Love.
DE Love. That's right. We'll make sure we get that. Matter of fact, on the screen here, we can have that printed out just right. So it's there. But Duane, I admire you. You and I have known each other for a long time, having gone to high school together and seen each other. And I want you to know, sir, it is an honor to know you and good to have you as a friend through the years. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.